Welcome back to Friday Perspectives. I'm your host, Dina Walters, and today I'm making a loud and strong clarion call for action. Because if you're a lawyer, if you're an accountant, if you're a journalist like me, or whatever your profession is, your career and everything it stands for could soon be absolutely meaningless. No, not just under attack. No, not just threatened. I mean gone. Yes, I mean gone. Ask yourself, what then? What happens when laws are no longer written to protect people but to silence them? What happens to our financial systems when they're used to consolidate power instead of ensuring fairness? What happens when journalists stop asking questions and start parroting propaganda? What happens when your career or your area of expertise suddenly shifts and the only thing that matters is the whim of a government official? Well, the answer is simple. The collapse of democracy, and once it's gone, getting democracy back is nearly impossible. No, this isn't a rambling paranoia. This is a conclusion based upon a look at history and a critical assessment of what's happening in the United States right now. Right now. Lawyers, will you defend justice or will you enable its destruction? Let's be clear. The legal profession just doesn't disappear under authoritarianism. It's weaponized. Remembering in Nazi Germany, courts were twisted to serve the regime. Lawyers who resisted were purged. Those who remained either enforced unjust laws or looked the other way. Here in the U.S., voter suppression laws are being pushed under the guise of election security, while courts strip away protections that once ensured fair access to the ballot. After Shelby County v. Holder, several states rushed to pass restrictive voting laws disproportionately targeting those in marginalized communities. If lawyers don't fight back, if they don't challenge these laws and defend the Constitution to protect the integrity of our courts, then they're failing democracy, but they're betraying it. Accountants. Will you expose corruption or will you hide it? Some might not think accountants are on the front lines of democracy, but think again. Where does dark money in politics come from? How do the ultra-wealthy hide their influence? Who ensures that financial crimes are exposed instead of buried? Accountants do. A 2020 Senate Intelligence Committee report revealed that foreign money infiltrates through U.S. elections through many anonymous shell companies. ProPublica's investigation in 2022 showed how billionaires legally dodge taxes and shift the burden to paying for government services to everyday Americans like you and me. If financial watchdogs go silent, corruption wins. If accountants look the other way, democracy dies behind a wall of falsified numbers. Journalists, will you seek the truth or will you surrender to silence? Yeah, this is where I come in because I'm a journalist. And I know exactly what happens when the free press stops being free. In Russia, journalists who challenge the government have been jailed or murdered. In Turkey, independent media has been crushed under the rule of a dictator. Even here in the U.S., trust in journalism is being deliberately eroded, and disinformation is spreading at an unprecedented rate by 7 mega media corporations who can't actually support an audience with quality content. But if journalists stop investigating corruption, stop challenging the lies and propaganda, and stop exposing threats to democracy, then the public will be left in the dark, and a blind public cannot fight against what it doesn't know. And what about you? For those of you who are teachers, doctors, sales professionals, business owners, skilled trade persons, performers, or whatever you call your profession, think about what happens if you lose the ability to ply your trade without having to answer directly to a politician or a bureaucrat first. Well, maybe not directly, but many of you will have only 2 options. Take it or leave it. So join me in this fight. What am I asking you to do? If you're a lawyer, challenge unjust laws, protect voting rights, and fight for the integrity of the courts. Or will you allow democracy to be dismantled piece by piece? If you're an accountant, will you expose corruption and financial crimes? Or will you enable the people who are buying their way into power, absolute power? Whatever job you do, you are being threatened by those people who would have you bow in silence for your actions, and gone will be all the hard-fought gains for which you have earned. If you're a fellow journalist, will you report the truth even if it's dangerous, or will you let democracy decay in silence? I'm a journalist, I'm an activist, and I'm fighting back. I'm asking all of you, no matter what your profession is, to join me, because if we don't act now, we may not get another chance. And that's my perspective.